Hello and welcome to the Let's Get Wicked podcast, where we talk about nothing but the game Villainous by Ravensburger. I am your host, Joker Jonesy, and I am joined by my lovely co-host, which feels like forever for some reason, Headmaster Ditto. Ditto, I don't think you're drinking coffee, but
I'm not this time, which is really strange.
I know I was gonna ask you what coffee you were drinking, but can't really do that today. Are you drinking water?
I am.
You're drinking water? Is it tap water? Is it Aquafine? Is it filtered?
It is tap water because,
Ooh. Gotta love me some unfiltered water, man. Tastes
the best thing about it is that it's borderline free. It's like a fraction of a cent per mug, so
oh, really? Is that what it is? Oh, that's right, because of water bills and shenanigans.
Water bills.
Yeah, water bills. Well, speaking of, someone already spoke up. We also have the one and only, when they're not working on rap albums, when they're not starring in the next Aladdin film, we have Will Smith. Will Smith, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm not
I know
only
you're
drinking
excited.
water, I'm amazingly excited. I love Marvel.
Spoiler!
Oh my goodness. Spoiler
alert, redacted. We gotta make that
redacted.
meme all podcast.
Oh yes, of course we are.
Absolutely. Now, last but certainly not least, we have someone new with us today. They are the pride of Ireland. They are the I don't know what other funny puns I can make with that, but we have Pikmin B from our community, aka the second place taker in our Disney Villainous tournament we hosted in June. Say hello.
Yeah. Yes, hello. That's my justified reason for being here.
come on.
Oh no. No, you're here. No.
I am here.
Yeah.
You're trapped here
Crazy
now.
too. I want people to
You can
understand.
never leave.
So I'm recording this at like 3 o'clock my time. It's what, like 8 o'clock your time, Pikmin?
Yeah, it's coming up to 8:30 now.
Oh, jeez. Oh my God. Time zones, people. I don't like them. Why do they have to exist?
It's not so bad.
No, I mean, it really isn't. Honestly.
It's mentioning the tournament in relation to the tournament specifically. This is not that
Right.
bad.
Oh yeah. That
4 a.m. when we finally finished.
yeah, that was a time. That was a time and place. We're never doing that again. But hey, it's called learning. So I've gathered this motley crew here today because probably for the reason why you're listening to this podcast. This past week, we have finally received a new Villainous product. It is not a Disney expansion, Screaming Gaston or Oogie Boogie, though. Do I wish it was? Sorta. But that's besides the point. We have Marvel Villainous. We have played Marvel Villainous. This is the Marvel Villainous review. This is the first time we're actually doing this on the channel, the podcast, all that stuff, where we're actually really, truly kind of reviewing a game. And it's kind of weird and also exciting at the same time because we're going to be some of the first folks to actually sit down and review this game for the internet. And I would like to say our opinion matters. Ditto, does our opinion matter?
Internet occasionally seems to think so, but honestly, I can't really tell.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. If
I'd say, honestly, jury's still a little out on that one.
We'll find out. We're gonna be jumping into doing an overall impressions. We're gonna be doing the general how the game plays. We're gonna be talking about the production with the art, the rules, the quality of the components, and then throughout the entirety of the podcast, we're also gonna be kind of talking about how it relates to Disney because that is honestly a huge part of the review because we all kind of here really like Disney Villainous, and the jury's kind of definitely out on this one. Disney Villainous is a good game. Whether it's an excellent game, that's up to different people to view. But this is definitely, we want to compare it to Disney and have that mindset while we're going through because there are some things to kind of compare and contrast between the two throughout. So that is kind of the general thought process here for this review. Now, I will go last. Ditto, we're going to start with you. What do you think of Marvel Villainous from a general perspective?
Just In just a few words, I think it is a very good and very much needed improvement over the Disney paradigm. But I also think it definitely has its share of quirks that should probably be addressed before they get too far ahead of themselves, if that makes sense.
No, I agree. We'll talk about those for sure. Will Smith, what is your general overview on Marvel?
I love it. It's my favorite board game.
Well, that's a bold statement.
It's what it is. It's how it is.
Pikmin. I know you haven't played it as much as we have, but your initial thoughts with playing Marvel.
It's exactly what I thought it was going to be, and I cannot talk about this. We were going to leave the Disney comparisons to the end, but I cannot talk about it without comparing it to
Oh,
Disney.
fine, go for
but
it.
It's exactly what I thought it was going to be. In Disney seems to be better on sort of a 1v1 thing, and this game seems to be better for a group dynamic, and it's wonderful in a group dynamic, and it fixes the issues that Disney had in like bigger, four player matches. Yeah, it's exactly what we expected it to be, really.
Okay. So my general thoughts on the game is I do think it is a huge upgrade to Disney. I think it is truly an upgrade in terms of the engine of Disney. Whether or not it's your preference, kind of already like what Pikmin was saying, is kind of up to you. But I think from a game quality and playing perspective, I think this game is just miles and miles better than Disney. Although I do think Disney does shine in some places that Marvel doesn't. But I think overall, Marvel is a really huge step up in a lot of different ways than Disney overall. And not to say Disney is now a trash game. It is still a fantastic game. Still one of my favorite games of all time. But definitely Marvel is showing to now it's definitely going to take precedence in my playing preference when I play Villainous in the future, especially with when I have people come over when we're allowed to, because circumstances. Anyway,
Current world event.
yeah, current circumstances in the world that don't involve the right space of Mother Gothel's realm. But anyway, we'll start talking about the gameplay. What are our thoughts on the gameplay?
That's a broad question.
Yeah, it really is.
I know.
It's a lot smoother in some respects than Disney, just because of how a couple of the cards are worded and how you kind of interpret everything. I love the fact that we can actually start messing with each other now. That's pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, boy, if some of these wordings aren't confusing.
Yeah. That's a thing. That's a thing.
I'm not fully convinced that they didn't have like 3 or 4 different teams all working on the same kind of effects at different times, and they all figured out different ways to word the same thing, so it's all non-consistent, and it's just kind of strange.
Yeah, I would say probably the biggest critical thing I have of the game, me personally, and this is weird because we're starting off critical after I'm basically saying I really enjoy this game, is the fact that from a production standpoint, a lot of the card wordings are really awkward. What I've been saying to people is that the rule book itself is actually pretty good. I think it does teach the game in a really good manner. I think the problem is that a lot of the cards conflict with some of the things that the rule book states. So it makes things a little more confusing to try to figure out what this is supposed to do. Because some of the ways cards are worded, they make sense. But then, like, there's different intentions behind the cards. And especially with the, and I do have to say that shout outs to all those folks on Board Game Geek from the development team that are like answering questions and stuff. This is probably the most.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
They're rocking it.
Yeah, like this is, I mean, no offense to Prospero, but like they have been on it like a bonnet in terms of answering all these questions. Like, holy crap. But it's definitely clear that a lot of the cards probably need a little bit of a new rework. And obviously besides the misprint stuff, which we'll get to later. But that has made some cards a little hard to understand because obviously they can be interpreted different ways. But I do agree with Ditto. This game plays incredibly smooth. I think this plays a lot smoother than Disney.
Yep, it sure does.
A thing with like the smoothness and everything is when I'm playing Disney, I'm playing against you. Like in terms of like if I'm playing a 4-player game of Disney, I'm playing against everyone, and it's just a matter of like racing against the clock to like complete my objective before everyone else does. Whereas with Marvel, rather than just playing against people, I'm playing with people. If I'm playing as Thanos, I'm choosing who to give a stone to, or I'm Hela and putting a soul mark on someone else's hero or something like that. I'm playing with people rather than just against them, if that makes sense.
No, I think that makes perfect sense.
I can totally get it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Ditto. I think you were the one that might have said this about the solitaire simulator thing. Were you the one?
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah.
Disney was cool and it was super thematic, but I ended up calling it the big old solitaire simulator because that really is what the game boiled down to. You're just playing solitaire against somebody else and figuring out who will win first.
Right, exactly. And I think when I see people criticize Disney Villainous, I think that's the biggest critical thing I see is because, when you play most asymmetrical games, like I'm going to bring up Root, for example, like Root is an asymmetrical game, but you're still playing against people and having interactions with those players. While in Disney, there's only two ways to interact with other players. It is via condition cards and majorly the fate action. And the fate cards, when you're targeting somebody, are only directly towards them. So it's not like you have a way to particularly find ways to counter what they are doing. It's still kind of like a guess, like what's going to come up in that deck. Well, here in Marvel, like Pikmin was saying, like each of the villains has their own way outside of the fate action to actually screw with other people now. And like it's kind of cool what they can do to bring those different like circumstances into the game. One of the examples was I think this was great was on a few days ago we were streaming Marvel Villainous. It was me, Will Smith, and Secret Lawyer Man from our community. And shout outs to Secret Lawyer Man. We were playing and I was playing as Taskmaster and I was literally about to win. And I saw that Secret Lawyer Man wasn't going to go for the fate action, which typically, like when you're about to lose in Disney, you're going to try to take the fate action and stop your opponent. While Secret Lawyer Man literally was able to play a stone onto the character and then vanquish them in one swing, which was really cool. So like there's other ways now to screw with other players, and I think that helps for those people that thought this was solitaire simulator. I think that throws that out the window, and I think that's really good.
Even like quite simply, if you're playing as Taskmaster in particular, like rather than using a fade action and covering a space, you can use one of your allies. You can just, beefy ally, move it over, cover whatever actions you want to cover the opponent, and then also you're progressing towards your goal as Taskmaster, which is really cool.
Yeah, I really dig that as a Taskmaster.
Actually,
guy.
really that too, because a lot of the heroes in the deck itself are 2, 3, 4. Kind of easy to work around, but Taskmaster a lot of times can have upwards of 5 or 6 strength on a character. So he actually, in effect, has some of the stronger action blocking cards just from his nature.
Yeah, I think so too. I also have to give a shout out to the fact that we're talking about the villains. The Fate deck too is designed incredibly well.
It's super nice. It's so it feels good. No, it's not the strongest, and no, a lot of the times you're like, oh, okay, it's just hot, but
Right.
it doesn't feel like when you're playing Jafar and you're like, okay, it's either crushing blow or it doesn't matter.
Right.
They all feel good.
Exactly. I especially like some of the different effects now actually can affect two different players at the same time. The case in point with it's this little card called was it the Found by the Avengers, where you remove an ally and a hero.
Ooh,
That's a beauty.
what a card.
Taskmaster hates that one.
Yep. and so
Thanos,
do other
everybody
players.
hates that one. Everyone hates that one.
But yeah, no, I think what the example I keep telling people, and I hate being the dead horse because everyone's heard me say it at this point, at least in our community, where the example is that so Falcon is a 2 strength hero, and when he's played, he can relocate a hero that's 3 strength or less to his location. So literally, let's say you are taking the fate action, you have a 3 strength hero in your domain, and you have Falcon, and you play Falcon to somewhere. Literally, by playing Falcon, you actually essentially quote unquote defeated the other hero from your domain to free up action space. And the fact that you can do that and then also screw your opponent over with it too, I think is just brilliant. And that's not the only example. I think, can we just all agree that Hulk is just an awesome card?
Hulk is an awesome card.
Hulk's wonderful.
Hulk is
He terrifies me, which is why it's so good.
I adore that card so much. I'm also kind of a Hulk hero fan. But man, let me tell you, I just love the way that card is designed, where literally you defeat it and you
so
basically
much
get
fun.
to play it on someone else.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun.
It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
One thing about the fate mechanics in general that I love, and again, like the Disney comparisons, is when you're playing a game of Disney in 4-player, you sort of have to look at you have to look at the progress everyone's made and then decide who to fate. Whereas with Marvel, you pull the fate card first, so you know how effective it's going to be to each person before just trying it. And and that's such a simple change, but I like that simple.
It makes it feel so much better.
It's so much better.
It really is. I think too, like, even though we're talking about like how the card we mentioned about the Found by the Avengers is really effective against Taskmaster, like all of these fake cards are effective against all the different villains, like all of them, which also baffles me. Like they specifically call out the fact that certain cards are strongest against particular villains, which yeah, to some extent, to some of them, they really are still like strongest against them. But like case in point with Found by the Avengers, like Thanos is trying to go vanquish an ally that's got an Infinity Stone. You have a hero in your realm. Guess what? You play that card, you remove that ally, and then you remove the hero that's there that's blocking your progress too. Like, it's insane what that card can do. And that's not just with that card, that's with all of the cards.
Yeah.
There's very few cards that are very specific to different domains. I think Hela and Killmonger specifically are the only two that really get affected.
I mean, Thanos has like, what's it, Adam Warlock too, which is like,
but I mean, Adam is still a 6 strength hero, so it still hurts everyone else. Exactly. Even if it's not Thanos, it's still annoying.
Absolutely, for sure. I think, well, because like even with the example with Adam Warlock, it's just like he, based off the games I've played, he really hasn't been that big of an issue for Thanos in particular. There's been one game I think I was playing against you, Will, that had Adam Warlock.
Probably. Yeah,
and like even then, like Adam, like with the way that these villains are set up, which is also kind of weird to say, like a lot of these villains have tons of allies. They really focus on something I've been really screaming at the top of my lungs with this game from like a competitive standpoint. Is Villainous as a brand is built around vanquishing things. Like they are trying to defeat characters and take them off of the board to free up actions. And if Marvel doesn't scream that louder than any of the Disney characters, then I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
That's a comparison that I've never thought about before with like the allies and stuff. That Disney, you kind of often with Disney just have like copies of these characters you don't quite remember from the movie. Like Gothel has these royal guards and royal riders that are just kind of there to fill space, whereas like something like Taskmaster's allies or Hela's allies, they all they have really interesting characteristics, like all of them. It's kind of wonderful, actually.
Yeah, I agree. I think one thing that Marvel definitely has done to help with all this is that, and actually I'm gonna give credit to Ditto, and I'll let Ditto speak more on this, but like in each of the villain decks, card consistency. There's more copies of effect cards and certain ally cards and item cards and such to make it so, in Disney, there was a lot of characters that you had to dig. We talked about Jafar, where Jafar literally has to dig for specific cards to kind of achieve his goal. None of these characters, they have particular cards that they need, but really the only case of a character that really needs something specific is Ultron.
Yeah, Killmonger with the explosives to an extent, but
To an extent.
yeah, it's really interesting to think about because with the Disney characters, you're trying to encapsulate all of the details in like that entire movie, all of that personality down into 30 cards. And as a result, you end up with a situation where you don't have a lot of copies of your key cards. With Marvel, though, because it's less about telling one specific story and more about just telling that character, what they did is they actually gave every character, 4 or 5 copies of all of the cards that are the most important to them. Like Thanos has 4 copies of Consult the Well, 5 Legions of Thanos. Hela has 5 Marked by Deaths. Killmonger's got 4 copies of Weapons Cache. Like, all that kind of thing. So you end up with a much more consistent deck where you're constantly drawing the cards that you want instead of, oh, I have to discard my entire hand for the 3rd turn in a row because I didn't draw the magic lamp,
Yep.
I agree.
Or like the opposite thing where, you draw Robot Queen turn 1 or something.
Yeah, that too.
You may as well just keep it in your hand the whole game.
Yep.
Because discarding it.
Pickman, are you calling out that game we played the other day?
Yeah, I got the list like turn 1, and I was like, fine, I'll play a list game. I'll play a game where I activate.
But who plays that card?
I played it just to try it. I activated it, and I got the Robot Queen, and it's so like Jonesy knows I have the Robot Queen now as well. So this is just
a good time.
Fun.
I know it was a game. Well, that's the thing too. I found actually really interesting, and Pikmin brings this point up a little bit because I remember Pikmin and I were playing some games for our Wicked League that we're doing with our community, where we're doing some competitive Disney Villainous stuff. And sometimes it's just very clear with Disney that there are some cards that can just stop you in your tracks and really halt your progress hard or take back progress that you've made. And in Marvel, that doesn't really seem like
Marvel
the
does
case.
not have that.
No, I've had
there
a
are
lot
very
more games in Marvel with just us learning,
very
rather than I ever
distinct
have with Disney.
points in each character's process where they are unstoppable. Once Ultron hits that ultimate upgrade, he cannot be stopped. Nick Fury can slow him down, but he cannot be stopped.
Right.
Once Thanos gets up to about 4 or 5 different stones, there's not much you can really do about him.
The only stopping is to win first.
Yeah, the only way to stop them is just to win.
And also, actually, what's dawned on my mind now is all of the villains now win immediately when they hit their win.
That's a big part.
Thank goodness. Start your turn goals were the bane of fun.
And I think that partially is why they all have immediate win cons, is because winning is the only way to stop someone else these days.
I think of all the changes, that's the best change they made. As a Scar player, I can attest that I think and this is not even Scar, this is with any of the characters. A lot of the Disney characters have a lot of fake cards that actually instead of
just
halting
directly
progress, they take back
them
progress.
back.
Yeah, taking back progress is just not fun.
No.
And
it's not like it doesn't exist here in Marvel, but
it certainly
for example,
can, but it's hard.
Yeah, it can, but it's like with Taskmaster with removing the ally, Taskmaster has enough tools in his deck and enough allies with stuff that you can easily get that back out and start working towards that again. We can Will can attest when we were playing our 3-player game on the other day, after my ally got removed, I was able to play another ally out and work them up relatively quickly.
Yes, Taskmaster can lose an ally, but it doesn't hurt him. I think Thanos not being able to lose the stones is great. I think being able to disable but not remove Ultron's upgrades is great. The only people that you can set back, I'm saying with air quotes, are like Taskmaster and Hela, and it's super easy for them to get back on track.
Right. And Hela specifically only has one card. Like
Yeah.
that actually directly takes back a soul mark.
And even then, it's not that bad. It's one soul mark.
Yeah. Because like that is that was a brilliant. Like if I have to applaud the design team, that is the number one thing that I think what was done correctly. Because I think from a game playing standpoint and introducing this game to folks is like, oh wow, all this progress I just made just went away. And like
Yeah,
trademark
that
Ditto luck.
sucks.
Yeah, like Ditto has that luck sometimes where like all of a sudden he's got like a
Sometimes.
giant built up, army of something, and all of a sudden just gets taken away. And now that just doesn't seem like the case. Like or it's not even just saying Ditto luck there, but it's like that's with any player where like they built up that force and then like that force is still there. Like this game is definitely a ramping game rather than trying to, hope to God that something doesn't screw you over.
I mean, it's just like playing Scar, like that last turn when you have 15 succession. You're gonna get dogpiled, and Hakuna Matata's gonna show up. That's just how it is.
Right.
There's nothing you can stop it. But in this game, they fixed that.
Yeah, and even in terms of the gameplay mechanics, like there's no fortune pile that you're just preying on, or there's no win big, with Pete. There's nothing like that that's heavily integrated into one of the characters.
No, not at all.
No, I think it's a smart call too, because I actually like obviously there's always randomness with like the decks and stuff like that, but like actually achieving the goal, like Queen of Hearts, Doctor, what is it? A little bit of Yzma for sure. Win big with Pete, a little bit of Cruella with the tokens. Here, there really isn't any of that with any of these characters.
No, except for maybe like a stone is found. But
Yeah.
that's more benefit enemy than it is hurt Thanos.
Right. Exactly. But yeah, I think overall we're all in agreement that the game plays a lot smoother.
Yeah. Also, I wanna shout out that oh no feeling that you get every time Avengers Assemble shows up. Is always fun. Because Avengers Assemble gets showed up and it's just immediately, oh no.
See, the thing is though, is that it affects everyone, so it's fine.
It does. It's a
Right.
table wide just
The thing is, it disproportionately actually affects Hela. Because all she's got to do is sit there, spit out soul marks, or sit there, finish Conquer
one
Valhalla.
Draugr swordsman on that thing, and damn.
No, but like, here's the real play. As Hela, just finish Conquer Valhalla first to put a soul mark on everyone that's already showed up. Finish Avengers Assemble, and bam, you get like 5-6 soul marks, maybe.
Oh, it's beautiful. I actually, one thing we do need to mention that we haven't even talked about yet is the events. Like,
I like them.
I really dig them.
I like them a lot. I think they're cool.
I really do dig them. I think Avengers Assemble, as brutal as it is, I think is a ton of fun.
Gosh darn that Thanos. That
one's brutal.
Event though. Oh my goodness. Crazy.
But the events are really cool just because of the fact that like now there's a global thing that you can add that forces all the players to kind of stop and think about what they need to do to continue progressing. And I think it was really cleverly done. And the cool thing too is the game definitely specifies that like we don't even recommend you play with these for your first game. Like
no,
these are completely modular.
It's a whole nother dimension of something that you have to consider and think about. And I think that's something that Marvel does really well over Disney this time. Is there's a lot of stuff now that you have to think about.
Yes. Like
especially when it comes down to like Ultron and Thanos both having like 2 or 3 extra effects popping off of specialties every turn. Hela needs to be keeping tabs on what's in all the discard piles because hey, I can just Thor's back now.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. It's just I think one of the biggest things I tell people right now about the game is the fact that like there were times in Disney that you would force people to make decisions, but it was kind of based off of like what was in their fate pile, were you defeating heroes and all that stuff. Like, and certain cards did not have universal utility. Like, obviously Dr. Facilier's freaking cards will tell card operates completely different than something like Long Live the King with Scar. Because those are specific to the character goals. Well, here, obviously, the goals are different now because there's a lot more unified things, and also some particular character abilities also put this into play, where, like all the characters now have something really like there's actually defining playstyle pillars that these characters have, like working with your discard pile, like gaining power, working with your effects in a particular way, or your allies and how your allies work together. Like there's a lot of different things that are kind of now like universal things. Then, last time on the podcast, we sort of talked about playstyles in our competitive scene. And like here, there's definitely now like we're trying to actually identify things that make characters work and like their unique thing. And everyone shares that unique thing because everyone has a little bit of it, if not a lot of it, which is cool to me a lot.
Not without it. Like, it seems to me like they're really trying to make, and this is going to sound really funny, but they're trying to make Marvel almost a more widespread audience thing than they did Disney. Because there's a little bit of something for everyone in Marvel now.
No, I agree. I think, Pikmin mentioned this earlier about the multiplayer thing. I think one of the biggest strengths of that mindset is the fact that you can play this with multiple players now and actually like interact with other players. Huge.
Yeah, I can see this being a more successful sort of Friday night with your friends than Disney was, if that makes sense.
No,
Oh, definitely.
I think you're 100% correct. Absolutely. Honestly, like if we're being very honest, I've had the most joy playing this game with 3 or 4 people the past week of playing this game.
Yeah, but even despite that, like playing 1v1 doesn't feel bad.
I love 1v1 in this
No,
game.
it doesn't feel bad at all.
Like there's a couple of things that end up a little unfortunate, like a Stone is Found just kind of doesn't do anything. Couple other fate cards that don't work just because there's only two characters in the game, but I mean, still.
Yeah, but Hulk gets really scary in 1v1.
Hulk's frightening anyway, but he's frightening for a
No,
totally
he's
different
extra
reason.
scary now. Because now he's coming back.
But no, yeah, I
Who
agree.
thought that effect was a good thing for the Hulk?
That's a great thing. Gosh.
No, it's Pikmin. Pikmin, I want you to kind of speak more on this because you and I actually had a discussion about the 2-player thing, because obviously, as like we said and we said at the beginning of the show, Pikmin was our second place taker in our tournament we had recently. Pikmin's also been participating in our Wicked League competitive scene for Disney Villainous that we have within our community.
Which is going amazing, by the way.
Well, yeah, I know. I got to give you all the props, man. Got to give you a name for yourself.
The league is good, and I do like on Marvel 1v1s and stuff. That works as much as I've been saying that the game's better as a group game than Disney was. I think there's a good shot that this game.
I want you, Pikmin. I want you to kind of say like how do you feel about
shot
2-player?
that this game
like,
could also be a good 1v1 game. Like, I think there's a good shot. It's just like we talked about before that maybe you'd have to remove the character specific events, because it's a bit like when you if you're trying to play competitively and you use your fate action, you need to know that that's not going to backfire, because if you reveal your own event or something, it's kind of a bit like I don't want that for competitive.
It was revealed that when so this is also
when you draw your own
stuff. Yeah. You can't target yourself with your own event, but at the same time, it just kind of gets wasted. There's only one of it, so it's like no longer useful anymore. And it's kind of like, I think when I was talking about this with some folks, it's like I think the way you make this in a quote unquote competitive environment is the fact that you just take away all the events in general, because the Fate deck specifically too, like if in a 2-person environment, you're only removing 6 cards. Yeah. 6 cards at any point by just getting rid of the events.
The events are to me, feel super casual game. They're not. I don't think that they're great for competitive anyway. If you're trying to be super competitive, the events are not gonna be worthwhile. So they would just kind of slow everything down.
No, I agree, and they do. That's what they're meant to do. They're supposed to
Yeah.
slow the game down. Like,
Yeah. Which casually is great. I like the events a lot. But if we super competitive, it's just not really what you need.
no, absolutely.
I think just on even a simpler level, like 1v1s, like they were just more fun than I was expecting them to be. Like a lot more fun. I didn't think, especially as like Thanos or something, like I was looking at Thanos going, I have to give one person all of the stones at some point. Like not all at once, but my opponent is going to get a shot at all of them, which was sort of like, that was a bit daunting, and even he worked better than I thought he was going to, and he was more fun than I thought he was going to be in terms of a 1v1. And as well as that, matchups are going to be a wonderful thing in 1v1. Like,
oh man,
a
I can't
wonderful
wait to
thing.
dive into that side of the game once we're able to.
Yeah,
That's
like
gonna be a good time.
mixing the fate decks and stuff is like one thing, but even again, you know, the stones and stuff, just in general, it's the matchups is going to be wonderful, and good luck to someone who tries to make a spreadsheet of that.
Oh my god.
Well, I think as far as matchups for Marvel goes, there's only one character that's not more or less on even footing than everyone else. Just personally,
Who is that?
that would be Thanos.
Oh yeah, because he's a
Really?
little wonky.
Thanos is
Thanos can get into a good spot though.
like he can, but by and large, he's too slow. Like his process is too long relative to everybody else.
I mean, I had a smashing 1v1 with Thanos at some
Thanos-
point.
Yeah,
But I don't know if that was
Yeah.
just a once off, or if I managed to crack something. But from my
Thanos-
experience, it can be done.
Can get into a point where he's just sing out stone after stone, and you only have one ally at a time that he just keeps crushing, and he could just crush you over and over again. Especially something like Taskmaster, who needs allies, or Killmonger, who has like 3 allies that he needs to use. You could just like keep stomping one ally at a time, and they can't do a dang thing about it.
no, yeah, because that was the one thing I noticed was like playing as Taskmaster, even playing as Hela was like, since with Hela you're mainly playing all your allies to one location to go towards your goal, like Thanos is gonna go there and start stomping those allies out of your way, and like that's the only place they're gonna go to vanquish. And then like not only that, they're gonna be opposing Odin's vault, and they're gonna be taking out an ally at the same time. And as long as Thanos keeps that crushing train going, he's unstoppable. Like he is the pure. He is the like if we're talking like if from a playstyle perspective, like he is an engine character like through and through. You build your masses, you get the power you need to play all your really good effects, and then you get ways to make sure you can activate your stones basically every turn or every other turn.
Yeah.
And you're a monster. Like
Oh yeah, Thanos
he's scary.
is the perfect engine. He will steamroll.
Yeah, but that's what's so exciting. It's just such a new game. It's a whole new atmosphere. We're all learning stuff.
What's interesting as well, actually, about Thanos in terms of like, design and stuff, is like every villain is going to have to be able to have a way to activate stuff.
Yep.
Just because the
You
stones
gotta
exist.
have the stones.
Yeah, and that's really interesting,
That's
and
gonna
that
be
is
fun.
already like a stark contrast from Disney, which
Disney and a lot of characters don't even use activates at all.
yeah, it's going to be interesting how that manifests in expansions.
No, I'm very. That's what I was going to talk about earlier with like, oh, certain characters have more a bit ways to activate, more ways to vanquish. Like we're already seeing it right now, where like Hela is the first character in all of Villainous to have 2 vanquish actions in their board. We have like there's now different amounts of activate. Like each villain has an activate, but different amounts. Like
Ultron's only got the
Killmonger and
1.
Taskmaster have 2, everyone else has 1, but Thanos can literally make it so he has 4, essentially, which is nuts.
Their
Death's
cards
favor is
are-
busted.
Oh yeah, Death's Favor is great. It's insane.
Death's
How good
Favor
that
is
card
such
is.
a good card. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's awesome. They should have
but,
worded it differently.
No. Yeah, that is true.
But
No.
it's okay.
Who's everyone's favorite character to play with right now? I'm curious.
Ultron.
I can't really pick because I have 2 different answers to that.
Okay. Pikmin.
I'm fascinated by Ditto's response to that question first and foremost. But I think the most intriguing to me has been Hela. I like how she works. She sort of immediately clicked with me. But also she does seem to be like the strongest so
She's
far.
very strong.
Yeah, she really seems to be the strongest so far. The most fun I've had has actually been with Thanos.
Yeah.
Thanos is a ton of fun. He's my number 2 for sure.
Definitely been a surprising character. I think Thanos was on the lower end of the characters just because of like I do like Thanos as a villain, but just like from the box perspective, he wasn't
Seen
one of
him
the
a
ones I was
lot.
super excited for. But
Mhm.
like, man, is that stone hunting thing a ton of fun?
But you know, like not even in terms of a gameplay perspective, like in terms of just the way the board looks and the art and stuff, I'd actually really like Hela for that reason as well.
Oh,
You know,
Oh,
her
Hela's
cards
got some of the
actually
best
Everything's
art in the game.
beautiful. Ella looks great.
we all just agreed. We're like,
Yeah.
Hella just looks
Hella's
fancy.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like Ultron's cards all look cool, but they all kind of look the same.
disagree.
A
I
little bit.
disagree, but well, you can talk about that later.
But Hela's art's
I
just
could
beautiful.
talk about Ultron for a long time.
Ditto, I want to know what your response is because I have an interesting response.
Yeah. Hela's the one I was most interested in going in. That being said, I think I've had a little more fun with Killmonger, and I hate to admit that. Because
Why do you hate to
Killmonger
admit it?
was the one character in the box that I was not super excited to
People
be
sleeping on
there.
Killmonger.
And then he shows up, and he's kind of rad.
He is a ton of fun. Killmonger is really cool.
Yep, he's neat.
Killmonger's Fury. It's a good card.
Killmonger's Fury is a
It's
great
incredibly
card.
good.
Goodness
And
gracious.
like he's got 4 of them, and it's so easy for him to just go pick it up again. Like, why did they think that was okay?
Because everyone's busted in this game. I
Oh,
love
and-
it.
And that's more fun. The fact that everyone
Everyone's
does have
broken.
ways to accelerate towards their goal at rapid
Mhm.
speeds, and everyone wins immediately
Yep.
when they hit their win condition.
God,
That's a lot of fun.
it's so
It's-
good. It
it's
just
great.
feels good to play.
It makes you feel, get this, almost like a super powerful villain.
Huh.
Theme.
Get that?
That's funny. I have to say,
Let's hear the
I
redacted.
don't
We're
know
gonna
who
clear it
my
up.
favorite is because I am not going to lie. And so like with Disney, like just to give you some perspective, where the relation thing. So like in the core box, I probably had the most fun with Jafar.
Yep.
In Wicked to the Core, I ended up really liking Dr. Facilier, and then Hades was kind of cool too. Scar and Rat and Evil Comes Prepared. And then in the last box, it was mainly Mother Gothel that got me. I'm also really digging Corella now, but like if you're noticing what I'm saying right now, like especially in the core box, like in that 6-character box, Jafar was really the only one that really was like, that's the one I really like playing with. He's got some really cool stuff. And then even in the other boxes, there's like one character that either I don't like or I had to discover to like Dr. Facilier or Ratigan, a little bit of Mother Gothel. In this box, I love playing with all the characters super equally.
Mhm.
I think they're a ton of fun. I think their mechanics on their own, I think really help them stand the test of like this game plays incredibly well because I think Will and I were having this conversation where like the original core Disney box, like there's
I
probably
still
only
haven't even
one or two
played a bunch
characters
of-
you really like playing with.
Yeah, I haven't even played all the core Disney villains.
Yeah, no, Will was telling me that because Will was like, I haven't played, was it Captain Hook and Queen of Hearts?
I
or
haven't
something
played
like that?
Queen. I haven't played Captain Hook. I haven't played Maleficent.
What?
No, I played Jafar until uh until the expansions came out. I played Jafar.
Wow.
That was
That's
it.
a statement. That is a statement.
I didn't care. I wanted to play Jafar. I didn't play
And
anyone else till Scar showed up.
I do have to say, and people who know me know this, I am a Marvel fan. So like Marvel is more of my love than Disney, like overall.
Yeah, me
And that
too.
I think helps a lot with these characters. For me personally, but like even characters I wasn't super interested in, like Killmonger, like and Thanos for that matter. Because those were the two I was least expecting like to have a ton of fun with. Like I'm having a blast playing those characters. Um, if I absolutely had to pick one, and I hate to agree, but damn, is Ultron just so much fun to
He's
play?
so fun.
It's like
Oh,
literally
God, he's so good.
I have my reservations about Ultron.
get out of here, Ditto.
Boo-hoo.
Get out of
Boo-hoo.
here.
Like, Crybaby has one game of bad luck. Ooh.
Well, it's not one game of bad luck. It's an entire lifetime of bad luck.
He's got a lot of bad luck. Nah. I've seen every time Ditto's tried to play Ultron. I don't know what is wrong, but it's hilariously bad every time.
Yeah, I can't make him work.
It's
I
crazy.
don't get it. Same with Thanos. Like, I was doing okay in a game we
Great.
played yesterday,
I
but
beat him
it
with
just
Ultron.
fell apart,
I beat him
and I
with
can't
Ultron.
figure out why.
It's so funny.
Ultron's
super
realm
great.
is too weird. That's why. Or not
Ultron
realm,
does have a
domain,
super
excuse me.
weird realm.
He does.
I just want to
Which
win. To
just
this
makes me
day,
think.
Thanos is the only character I've not won a game with, and it irks me to no conceivable end. But I cannot make this work.
You were doing good yesterday, so it's alright. Pat on the back to you. Thanos is hard to win with. It is. You gotta set up right.
He's Ursula. That's what he is.
He
He's
is.
Ursula, guys.
He's like Ursula but fun instead.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like,
He's like
oh wow, let's make fun characters this time around.
It's like let's have a box full of fun characters that
I don't
people
know.
want to play. Imagine that.
It's funny.
I mean, Ursula's fun. You just have to like spend a long
It's
time
fun for
learning
the
how to play.
very specific niche of people who like that style.
Mhm.
We just have a community that is lacking in that particular style.
Hey. Hey now. I'm coming to Ursula main over here, guys. You all know it.
Everyone,
seen
run
it.
away while you can.
Well, I mean, that's the thing too, is like, we were talking about Ursula, and like, yeah, Ursula has her audience, but like, the amount of people who are actually gonna have fun with that character is very low, just because of the fact that the skill floor is so high to even just operate her. And like everyone in this box, like, is super
Just
easy
fun.
to pick up and play.
Yeah.
Everybody is. There's not a single character in this box that is complex. Period. Like,
No, not really.
no.
Like, probably have to think about Killmonger the most just because he's got kind of a longer checklist. Because you've got to like specifically defeat Claw, use Challenge for the Throne to grab Black Panther, defeat him, play the explosives, ship him out. Like, there's a lot of steps in that process.
But even then, you can still understand what he
Then
needs to
it's not
do.
super complicated.
No,
Yeah, like it's not complicated to figure out how that's supposed to work,
no.
which is nice.
And it's one step at a time. It's not like Jafar where you have 8 different steps all shoved in your face at once.
Yeah, exactly. Because like when they
The
said
way
that
it's set up,
Jafar
it
was
says
where it was built around, I was really confused by that because I still think Jafar is the best example of showing everything off, but I don't think Jafar is a great character for someone to start with if they're not very experienced with tabletop games in general. And like I can't say anyone in this box is anywhere on the realm of Jafar or Ursula.
No.
I think the most complex it gets is Queen of Hearts. And like Taskmaster, I still feel is easier to grasp and understand than Queen of Hearts. And I think me personally, I think Taskmaster is the most technical character. I agree, Ditto, that I think Killmonger's got the most steps, but they're fairly easy to understand. You can get there quickly.
And kind of piggybacking off something you just said, I don't know if it was with you or Will that I was talking about it before, but obviously Thanos was one of the first characters they designed because a lot of the mechanics of Marvel are built around how he works.
Right.
But then you get to Taskmaster, and a little bit of every other character exists in his kit somewhere.
That's true.
It's like it all started with Thanos, but it all kind of ties together in Taskmaster, and it's something that makes him actually.
I remember you talking to me about that. I remember you saying that to me.
Because
that's
got
cool.
a little bit of the sending his allies out from Thanos. He's got Crossbones, who pulls the hella just, you're in my discard pile. Whoop. Killmonger has got really strong item focus in his deck, and Taskmaster abuses his items to no conceivable end. Ultron likes to swarm his allies. Hey, guess what Taskmaster's entire objective is?
Allies.
Just kind of, they all kind of come together in one character, and Taskmaster kind of ended up being that.
Yeah, I definitely, I'm just gonna say this. I love this game. This game is incredible.
I adore this game.
Yeah, like there is so much, and like the thing, like what you were saying, Ditto, is like the thing is like you said that with Taskmaster, but everyone has bits and pieces of that as well. Like,
oh yeah,
because like the fact that the Fate deck when you play, what is it? So like example with what you were talking about with Killmonger. Killmonger's got a card that allows him to fetch back the Killmonger's Fury, which is a really powerful defeat character card. But the thing is, if you shuffle his discard pile back into the deck, guess what? He loses the ability to go fetch that from his discard pile, stuff like that. I think it's I think there was a lot of really good calls here, and I think the characters I'm very excited about future characters for more than one reason. Obviously, we're recording this episode right after the Art of Marvel panel that was aired today for Gen Con Online, and boy, let me tell you, I'm excited beyond belief.
Mm-hmm.
Dear God,
that'll be good. It's gonna be good. Everything happening. It's good news.
Yes. But I think we talked enough about gameplay. I think we should go into the production side of stuff. What do you guys think of the what do you guys think of the production?
I'm gonna say generally, I like all the new. I like the people that kind of been digging on the new movers. Kind of been complaining that the quality feels like maybe it went down, which that's give or take. But I really like the new movers. Like them a lot. I'm a big fan of what they did. I think I understand why they did it. I think all the little details and stuff are super fun.
Yeah, I like how like the changes from Disney with small things, like the Fate logo looks different and stuff like that. Like all of that works really well, and it feels better for Marvel than I thought it was going to. I thought it would just be weird to have the symbols changed for no reason, but the subtle changes like that are actually they're quite good. I do on the movers. I sort of prefer the look of the Disney ones, but it's a personal preference.
Well, this was probably the closest the pieces could have gotten to looking the same sort of metallic effect like they have on the cards without actually being metal. Obviously would have
that would have been fun though.
Expensive.
I would have loved to get some metal movers.
Obviously, way too much, way too expensive to try to produce that many of those. But I kind of agree. I kind of like the Disney movers a little bit more, if only because they have a little more heft to them.
But the detailing,
these are
the detailing on the new ones,
lighter.
love them.
Yeah,
love
I think
all the
so. Like
Disney-
something we learned today at the art panel was they specifically called out the fact that the Disney movers were more like painting at glass-esque movers, and that was the style they were going for with Disney. While Marvel definitely has a different feel and aesthetic to it. I think that, and this is something also just like in general with this game, like you if you really like Disney Villainous and like you are transferring over to Marvel, like I'm in a very rare boat where like I like both of them. I do prefer Marvel better as a franchise, but like going over, you just have to understand the actual aesthetic detail of the franchise that you're working with. And it's different than Disney because I think like if you were to take the Marvel metallic look and put it with Disney, it wouldn't work. And
It'd be
if
weird.
you take the glass painting look and put it with Marvel, I don't think it would look as right. So
Definitely not.
I do think it's like a personal like because I actually know for a fact that Ditto and Pikmin are probably more Disney fans than Will and myself. We're more Marvel fans. So that
Absolutely.
makes more sense on that particular opinion. But I think both of them look great.
I love all the movers.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
the
no.
only thing I miss from the old movers is the fact that like because they were a little bit more, I guess, gelatin like, they have a little bit more weight to them. Because the Marvel movers feel very light, but I don't think the lightness of the
They feel
movers
action
doesn't bother me.
figure-y. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I will say the way they chose to do it made it so that the Marvel movers have a lot more like I don't necessarily want to say sharp edges, but
They're
have
rigid.
Yeah.
the Disney movers looked more fluid. These look very very like almost like statuesque a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, they talked about how like in the panel today how like all the Marvel miniature or miniatures the Marvel
Right.
figures specifically are more like totems, if
Yeah.
that makes sense, and that definitely shows. Definitely shows.
I do like how Thanos stands out from the rest of the group because like all the other ones are just these
So
really
beefy.
really nice symbolic things, and then Thanos is just a block.
I look. I was kind of goofing on Thanos's piece before. I like it a lot now.
It goes with the Titan grown beef.
It does. He's freaking a honking chonker. He's freaking
Yeah, I
great. I
know.
love him.
Raising those legions of Thanos.
Raisin. They're beefy boys.
I know. Beefy boys with an eye. What is it? So one of the things I do like, so there's tiles here, tons of tiles.
There
Tiles
are
are
a ton
thick
of tiles.
cardboard.
Tiles feel good.
Yeah, they feel really good. I don't think anyone could attest that. I detest the fact that those tiles feel not good. Those are some chunky tiles.
I kind of like the cards too.
Yeah,
I
cards.
think Ditto was saying they felt bad, but I like them better. I think.
I will say this, and this is something we can get into a little bit. I do think the virus had some effect on production of these
Yes.
components.
Not a doubt. Like, you assume they had to have sent these off for the final production run. What do you think? Maybe
February, March,
late
time.
February, early March, right around when the whole thing started. So they probably lost a good 3 to 4 weeks worth of production capability just because of the whole virus starting.
Right. I think that.
And that I think too has a big bearing on the number of like typos and stuff that made their way into the final product.
Yep.
Yeah, we got to talk about that really fast.
Yeah.
I don't
Is it
think
a
it's a.
Is it an item? Who knows?
Right.
Who needs to know? Nah.
Especially it seems like Thanos' stuff in particular
Thanos' deck kind of
got
hit.
typoed a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah,
Which leads me to think that out of everybody, and I don't want to necessarily say too much, but I think Thanos was probably the one character in the set that
He got reworked
got
a
completely retooled from the original plan.
A lot.
Like he was the first one designed, but they had to go in and fix a lot of things about him, and in the process, a lot of those little mistakes slipped through.
I cannot confirm officially, but I've been told by some playtesters that I know Thanos' goal used to be 5 stones instead of 6. So
How weird.
Yeah,
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
yeah, it definitely
feel
seems
like-
he was
I
different.
feel like he started with stones at some point. He kind of feels that way.
Well, I wonder if the fact that the Power Stone actually had the little cost thing on it meant that at one point that was the one he would start
I
with,
don't.
and he'd like have to
Yeah.
pay to use it.
Maybe.
And then they decided to keep the cost thing as a joke because Power Stone.
I like it. I like the joke personally. Get it?
Yeah.
I feel like that's gonna be like the one surviving meme of Marvel is just the Power Stone.
I love it every time someone new shows up and they're like, "Hey, do we know why the Power Stone?
Yeah. Why is the Power Stone still
why
got
is it?
zero
Why
cost
has it
on
got a power?" And it's like,
Think about it real
Love it.
hard.
I love it every time.
I think the biggest thing that bugs me about some of the typos though is like, this is the first print run on this game, and we have to remember what the audience this game is catered for. And some
Oh, yeah.
people are gonna look at this and be and like because Ravensburger, one of their quotes on like their company website and everything is kind of like, "Hey, we make quality board games that have high quality components and really easy to read rules." And like,
Yeah,
with
so
all the
far
weird
with Marvel,
card
we
stuff-
kind of don't
Yeah.
have that.
Right. It's a little like they're like we said at the beginning of the show, like the fact that the designers are being so active on Board Game Geek is really nice.
Yeah, it's
But like
great.
you have to understand from a perspective of like a consumer where
It's
like
still
let's say
rough.
if I want to go buy this for like some kids or something like that.
Right.
And like I go buy this and I give them to them and they're like, why is this way? And blah blah blah. And I'm like, from a teacher standpoint, I'm just like, why?
Little Jimmy's
Why?
gonna get into a fist fight over,
I know.
Death's favor.
I know. They'll be like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But
I mean, in fairness, that could have happened with Disney as well, with multiple
Right.
ruling questions.
yeah, I mean, the thing
It's
though-
not
the thing
Marvel's
that's weird,
fault. It's
though,
definitely not Marvel's fault. It's not Ray's fault.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, Disney already has the legacy of being pretty clear. Like, Disney has never really had that issue. And even in the first printing of the core box, it was more of like, like, hey, we need to reword some stuff just to make things more
Yeah,
clear.
it was like clarifying things. It
Right.
wasn't actual typos.
Mhm.
Like,
yeah, not
Oh,
typos.
And
not
still,
pure
for the
rules.
most part, typos specifically are sparse.
Yeah.
It's
And what
just
is it?
weird
There's only
wording.
2, right?
Yeah, there's a couple in the rule book, and then added tonal ability, Legions of
Yeah.
Thanos,
Yeah.
and the item effect problem.
Yeah, the biggest thing is the taste of cosmic power having it's 3 copies and one of it's an effect.
Mhm.
2 of them are items.
Oopsie.
Yeah, and I have to give credit to Will pointing this out where based off of the way the card
the way
worded,
it's worded, it says like at this location. It feels like it was meant to be an item at some point, and they changed it.
yeah, it looked like it was supposed to be uniform.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it was meant to be an item.
yeah,
So,
that was one of those things that probably got retooled. Is like that used to probably be an item that you would attach to one of your allies.
Right.
which, by the way, is a terrifying thought.
Yes,
Of
it's
an
mortifying.
ally that has taste of cosmic power forever.
No, that's frightening, especially on top of stuff like the Reality Stone. Like, no thanks.
Squidward.
Yeah, him too. He's a problem.
Oh no. Poor Squidward.
Or Squidward.
I'm Squidward. I'm Squidward. I'm Squidward. 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 Anyway, SpongeBob memes aside.
Yay.
Yeah, I would say the biggest piece. I mean, the thing is like we're criticizing this stuff right now. We know this is going to get fixed. Like they've
Oh, of
already
course.
sent
Yeah,
up
they.
Board Game Geek.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, like
they're-
they've already gone on record to say they're gonna fix the Taste of Cosmic Power issue. It wouldn't surprise me, given the number of questions they've been getting recently, if they didn't expedite the process of getting a second edition out.
Yeah, and like honestly, I would like I already so just to let you folks know who are on the podcast who are listening and have no idea, like Ravensburger said like email their customer support email address and
Do it.
I believe it's like it was customer support at ravensburger.com or something
Mhm.
like that. And
Mhm.
like if you email them about your issue with Marvel Villainous, they'll put you down a list. I did it literally the day that I got my copy and I got an email by Monday. So like
Yeah, I got an email the day after, I think, like immediately.
right. Yeah. So like they know, and I think actually ditto. I agree with you. I think what's probably going to happen is a lot of us who have sent those emails, they're just going to send us whole new decks of everything.
Yeah, they're just gonna give us like the first glimpse at the second edition with all of these clarifications and all the stuff fixed, so that hopefully they don't have to go back and do more again in the future. Hopefully.
Yeah. Because it seems pretty clear, and I've said this, is like the rule book is very clear about how things are supposed to work. The problem is the cards conflict.
There's so many cards, and it makes you wonder. Like, it's kind of a chicken or the egg situation. It's like, was the rule book written first, or were the characters designed first? Like, why are they so inconsistent?
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Because I know, like in Disney, they had the general blanket thing of the card trumps the rule book anyway. But that seems like there's too many weird interactions in this game for that to have still kind of been intentional.
I agree.
That makes
sense.
100%.
But the thing too is like, it's us nerds that are getting really hard in on this stuff too. I think a casual audience member will jump in and still be able to pick this game up. And like we were saying with the gameplay, like the gameplay is very fluid.
It's easy.
Yeah. Like, teaching this to Pikmin the other day about some character stuff. Like Pikmin was able to pick these characters up and like just move like really quickly without too much thought.
Yeah, I mean, I've played Disney an awful lot, so I don't know if I don't know how good an example I am of someone who can pick up the characters really quickly. But like in terms of the point of it translating well, it definitely really does.
I can personally attest because this week I had my neighbor and another friend of mine. We were playing in the flesh, which by God, playing this game in the flesh is fantastic.
Oh yeah,
it might also just be coronavirus creeping in on me a little bit, but literally like my next door neighbor in my apartment complex, she like is just played Villainous for the first time with Disney, so like she is still very new to how things are supposed to work. And then I had someone who came in and never played a Villainous game before, and even with my neighbor being super like new to the game, she picked up complicated characters like Taskmaster and Thanos a lot faster than she picked up characters even like Maleficent or Captain Hook or characters like that. And the person who is brand new to Villainous literally was able to we played the first day that they came over, one with Ultron, like actually won. It was not, we weren't going easy on each other. Like it was very clear that like this game plays a lot simpler just for the fact that it's a lot more open space. And I have to give the team credit to that, where like I think this game is going to open a lot more doors to more people playing Villainous.
Yeah, it's weird because a lot of the criticisms that we've all kind of levied up against Marvel right now are from the perspective of super, like, uber nerds who are just going to be picking everything apart for scraps, basically.
Mm-hmm.
When, like you said, your average person is going to walk up and say, "Oh, I think I can do this," and probably do okay. Like a lot of these questions about how Midgard Serpent works, or how Death's Favor is supposed to work, or how Rook is supposed to work.
Just gonna read that card and be like, "Oh, okay, I think it works like this," and just do it. No one's gonna.
Those problems don't necessarily exist because they're not thinking about it that hard.
Yeah, I agree. What is it? I think one thing I want to talk about is the art, and I do think Will has some things to say about this.
I could talk about art for a long time.
Yeah, I know we could talk about art for a long time, but
yeah,
best art in Villainous, period.
Yes.
Can we all agree on that?
I think so. It's hard for me to say because, like, I love, and I've said before that, like, looking at, say, something like the Prince John art and getting used to that, and then going back and watching the Robin Hood movie after getting used to how the cards look is like, oh, these cards look amazing. Like, these cards look better than I thought they did. Whereas, as a Disney fan, I don't have that relation with Marvel. So for me, it's going to be hard to say that the art is better, but the fact that I enjoy stuff like Hella's art and that so much speaks wonders, because I had no idea who Hella was coming into this.
That's good. Was it Ditto? Since you're also not a Marvel person, what do you think of the art?
Oh, the art's absolutely fantastic. Just because I'm not a Marvel person necessarily, it's like I don't read that many comics, but I do really appreciate the comic art style, and they hit the nail on the head with this one. Oh my goodness, it's delightful.
Yeah, it's really good.
They hit the nail on the head, except.
Yeah.
Sorry.
One thing that I think Will Smith and I specifically want to, because him and I had actually talked about this, is Killmonger. Will, I'll let you kind of take the floor on this one, if you don't mind.
The Killmonger art is very good. Like, I'm gonna get that right out the right out the gate. I think it's great. I just think it's a lot weaker than even a lot of the stuff in Disney, which also is great. Just because I'm gonna say that all the other things in Marvel's better doesn't mean it's not great. Just get that right out the gate. Killmonger's art is just really disappointing.
Yeah.
It's
and
not
I think
very comic book.
I think Will, you can attest to this because I haven't seen the movie, but essentially what it looks like what they did is that they try to base the entirety of the goal on the movie. And for those of you who do not know, Killmonger is not necessarily a prominent character in the comics. Claw
No,
actually
he's really
is
not.
Black Panther.
Yeah.
And the thing is, a lot of the art that they used for the Killmonger is from the movie. And
Absolutely.
guess what? And since you're playing with real actors in these real positions,
It's
just
harder.
kind of dudes standing there.
Yeah. So the biggest problem, I think, it's just not very comic book-ish. It's very painting-y. It's such a stark contrast from everything else. You look at Hela's deck, and it's like bright green and then black, and got these crazy color combinations. Then you look at Killmonger's deck, and it's like, okay, here's a dull brown and a dull gray, and then maybe some purple in there sometimes. Ooh, here's a guy with white. Like, it's kind of not amazing. They don't have any shadows to them. All the shadows are super subdued, which is totally against comic book art in general. Shadows need to be deep. They need to be like really heavy. That's how you get that crazy angularness of comic books. And something like Hela's deck or Ultron's deck does that really great. Everything feels sharp. And then you look at Killmonger and it's like, okay, here's a soft hand, which is great in its own right, not very comic booky.
Right. Because I mean, Will and I were discussing this. Like a lot of the cards in Killmonger's deck that really stand out, that look cool, are the ones that aren't based
King,
off the
man.
movie, like King
Yeah.
and Knight and a little
Knight
Rook.
looks rad.
And was it the Rage? Of
Armored Rhino is a real good, real pretty card.
Rage of
Rage
whatever.
of Killuna. I don't know how to spell that. Say
Yeah.
that. Those are not from the movie. Look really cool. And they should have just pushed the lighting and the shadows, and it would have looked really cool. But they didn't, and it's just super subdued. Which I guess maybe that's what the artist wanted. I don't know, but personally, I think it's just kind of rough comparatively. I feel like something like Execute Plan, that's the name of the card, I think.
Right. Yeah, the activate one.
The explosion. Even if you just like taken that card and made it at nighttime, and this explosion has like this big bright light around it, and it's all red, like that would have looked cool. But instead, it's just man standing there, and there's a little bit of red on the building.
Yeah, I've said this specifically. I think the Killmonger art is probably the weakest of all Villainous in general, and it's not bad art, like Will said. I just think this is the first time we've had a character where their art actually makes them not exciting to play. Because like the thing I always relate is that Killmonger's Fury is essentially the same thing as Snake Eye almost. And the thing with Snake Eye, it's very animated. It's got lots of colors. There's some different shadowing and stuff that's gone on to make it more spooky looking, as Fabio would say. But here, it's literally with Killmonger's Fury, it's his Killmonger looking pissed off.
It's his face, yeah.
Yeah, and like it's not super exciting to me at all personally. But he plays great. You know, like I don't want to take that away from the character. He still plays amazingly.
He's a
think-
fun character, but
Just to chime in a bit, I
Do
think
it.
like it's like we've said, Killmonger's art is wonderful. It's just that Villainous sets the bar so high
Correct.
for art and style, and it's one of the nicest looking games that exists.
for sure, I absolutely think so.
I absolutely agree. No. Yeah, and I do. Yeah, we want to make sure we let everyone know the art is
Killmonger's
not
deck
bad.
is very good.
So, quick full disclosure before we continue with the show. Sadly, Ditto had to leave us because he had to go to work. But thanks, Ditto, for joining us for this first hour bit of essentially of our Marvel review. Your opinions are very much valued as part of our wonderful podcast crew here.
Yes.
One thing we did want to talk about was the card backs. Pikmin,
Mhm.
what's your view on the card backs?
They're one of my favorite parts of Villainous, which is why I specifically said I wanted to talk about these. Like they are,
Yeah.
they're absolutely beautiful for the most part. And again, I don't want to hype up Hella's art too much. I think Hella has one of the best ones, but my favorite one in Marvel actually is Thanos's. I think Thanos's card back is my favorite.
I agree. Actually, yeah, I actually
I have a
think so.
hard time picking the back in that decision making because I like them all.
They are all super good.
Mhm.
Like even Killmonger's, I love it.
Yeah.
It's super rad. It's super in character.
Right.
And I don't want to be like, oh, even Killmonger, he freaking sucks, but his cardback, no. He's cool. He's a cool character. I promise.
No, Killmonger's back of the. I actually really like the. We haven't even talked about the completely design of all the movers and stuff. We just talked about how they feel
I love the
quality
movers.
wise, but like,
I really like the movers.
yeah, Killmonger's like a card back with like the art of his mask and then like his mover. Oh my god, that is dope. I love it. What is it? I think that this is just me being more of a Marvel person. I think my favorite part about the card backs is the metallic look of them. I really dig that.
They look great. They really do look really good.
Yeah, I agree. I'm kind of I'm a dark metal type of person. That sounds weird. Don't worry, I don't listen to My Chemical Romance on repeat all the time. But I like that style, like aesthetic. It's why I've always told people I'm not really into the high fantasy mystical thing. And that's why I'm more of a sci-fi person. I like my metal. And it's funny because they talked about that during the art panel that we tuned into today.
They did.
Yeah, they did talk about that. And
They were like, Disney's very high fantasy, and Marvel don't click like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's much more sci-fi. And that's definitely reigns supreme here. For
Heck
sure. Yeah.
Still on the card back thing. What do you guys think of the Fate card back?
I think it's busy, but I think it's good because it needs to be.
It needs to be busy
Marvel's
because
bread
it needs
and butter
to
is superheroes.
it needs to encompass.
It has a lot that it has to
everything.
cover. Yeah. I think it's really crazy good for everything that they had to do. It's hard to get 80 something years of super famous superheroes into a back of one card.
Yeah, I think they did the best that they could to try to represent all the different heroes on there. I think it's difficult, and just because the fact that and something we'll probably talk about towards the very end of the show is like with the future stuff, like there is no Spider-Man on that back.
Amazon lied to us.
Yeah,
Amazon did lie to us.
Amazon.
Gosh darn it, you really messed this one up.
Screwed the pooch on that one. But I still think it's done very well.
They did.
Yeah, they did a really good job. I mean, I gotta say that this game is. I love this game. I love the way this game looks. I love the game this way it plays. A lot of stuff. Now, big time. Put you all on the spot here.
Uh-oh.
So, kind of like I said at the latter half of the review, I want to jump into the comparisons to Disney. We kind of already talked about a lot of them throughout the show. Pikmin, I want to start with you. How how do you feel about this? Like, I know you said you really like the multiplayer aspect, but like overall, is kind of like as an experience with this. Like, do you like this more than Disney? Do you like the gameplay more than Disney? Do you still prefer Disney? You know, like what? How do you feel?
I mean, I have been playing Disney for so long now, and I've played so much of it that, like, to give you the honest answer to that question and like the answer that I would be confident in, I would have to play an awful lot more
I got you.
of
Mhm.
Marvel, because it's like specifically I like the 1v1 thing. I think the group stuff is good, like for a Friday night, but in terms of playing the game over and over and over and over and over, I don't think it gets much better than a 1v1. And I think if Marvel develops and grows and there's potential for 1v1 there, it has a good shot of taking my preference. And that's a big statement because I'm a much bigger Disney fan than I am a Marvel fan. So I see potential there, is the most I can say.
Okay.
See a lot of potential there.
Well, that's a good, honest answer. I
Yeah, that's fair.
appreciate
Yeah.
that. Will Smith.
Okay.
What?
I love Disney. I've always loved Disney. I love Disney movies. I love Disney so much. I'm wearing Scar printed pants right now with my stuffed Scar over there and my giant stuffed Simba. I love Disney, but gosh darn, I love Marvel so much more.
Yeah.
I love Marvel a lot more. I played a ton of Disney Villainous. I know that sounds kind of dubious considering earlier I said I didn't play all the characters, but I still played a ton of the game. I am a much bigger fan of Marvel.
Why is that?
It's smooth, it's fun, it's got characters that I've grown up with and loved. It's got new versions of characters that I've grown up with and loved. Captain America, he looks freaking rad. It's just new and it's not exact. It's got a fun system that I really enjoy. It's real good.
All right. Are you guys ready to hear some hot takes?
Oh boy.
All right. I'm gonna make a lot of people sad. I've already said this, I think, to somebody. I don't remember who. Because of how good Marvel is, I am not that excited for any future Disney expansions much
I
anymore.
agree. Yeah, I agree.
Which is a hot
Heresy.
take.
I agree with your hot take. So.
Yeah, and the reason for it is, and this is coming from someone who, like, you know, I love Disney Villainous. You know, like what Pikmin said, the 1v1 aspect of that game is still incredible. Like, I am not going to take that away from that game. Like, I mean, literally this past week when I was participating in the league, and I've played some of the best games of Villainous I've ever played in my entire life, because when you play it at a high enough level, it is insane the stuff that can happen. And Pikmin can attest to that based off the Captain Hook Scar match I had. It was insane.
The game continues to be wonderful, and I keep thinking that we're going to come to the end of it and we'll keep seeing, you know, the same matches over and over again, but we just don't. It just holds up, and it still keeps being wonderful.
Yeah. And that's the thing that's wonderful about Disney, is the fact that, like, it has such replayability factor because it is a strategy game. And when it's a strategy game, different things happen at all the time. And it's literally, what cards in my hand or in my board do I need to interact with at this particular time to be the most effective towards my goal? And Marvel, I think, takes that to times 10.
Mm-hmm.
Where, like, now the decision making process is a lot more broad, allowing the broadness to give players the ability to make more decisions and use cards in more ways than they could before. And the fact that there's a lot more take that in this game, where now, since you have more direct interactions with other players, you now, like what Pikmin was saying about the multiplayer aspect of the game, which I really want to hone in on this, because man, this game plays phenomenal at multiplayer. Like, oh my god, like compared to Disney, it's like stupid good. Like, oh my god.
It's great.
No,
My-
it's
Yeah. Go.
Even if it suggested 4 players, I played a 5-player game of this game. It still works super good. It was still super fun game. It like I'm sure they said it in interest of like time, but 5-player game with all the villains, it still works super great. Team multiplayer in this game is fantastic for a
Absolutely.
board game.
Yeah. Absolutely. I just think Marvel like, and this is something I've kind of brought up too, was like the reason why I think Perfectly Wretched for Disney is everyone's like overall favorite expansion from a gameplay perspective is the fact that like all of those villains have particular goals and tools that can be used in a multitude of different ways. And you can tell that and that's compared to the other villains from the other sets. And that definitely shows how that design started to influence some of the decisions that were being made in Marvel. Where like a lot more of the cards and a lot more of the heroes and a lot more of all this stuff needs to be a little bit more universally be used. And Disney, the universal uses were more within the realms. Well, here in Marvel, it's throughout the entirety of the game. Like the fact that you literally use Black Widow to take out allies in different places, but then at the same time you use Hand of Glory to fish her back out when she's defeated and do it that way. Or there's like, or you can play heroes and like now hero stacking is actually a thing as like, encouraged by the fading player to hero stack at certain locations because of things like the protector symbol, which we haven't even talked about, and like things like that. Like there is so much more strategy and there's so many more options. And as we make a joke around here, options is a big key with what we talk about. But like the reason why options are good because you want players to be able to have all sorts of ways to work and like do things and that gives the players more decision making tools, and that's good because when a player only has to make only a few decisions, the game isn't as fun. And not to say Disney had that, but like it was very clear with Disney, like certain cards need to be used in certain ways. Here doors are wide open, and I even talked about the fact that I'm in the same boat as Will. I love Marvel a lot more. I grew up loving Spider-Man. I love the X-Men. I play Marvel versus Capcom. For God's sake, if Doctor Doom doesn't get to do foot dives in this game, I will be sad. Like I love Marvel. People saw me play Marvel Champions on stream. I own a bunch of Marvel board games. I have a bunch of Marvel figures or Funko Pops behind me while I'm sitting recording this podcast of Marvel. I love Marvel. And I didn't even say that up front necessarily before I talked about all the gameplay stuff. Because from a gameplay perspective, damn, is this game fantastic.
It's
like
awesome.
It's stupid good.
Like a really interesting little thing I noticed about it is like with Disney, and maybe this is a product of me having played Disney a lot more, but I don't think it is, that there's specific things in Disney, like really specific things that I hate. Like when I'm playing as Pete, I hate Win Big. I hate it. I don't want it there. Or when I'm playing against Jafar, I hate deception, and I hate the fact that manipulation can play deception again. I hate it, and it's so specific. There's no really specific things like that with Marvel that I can think of.
Nope.
Not really.
No. That was.
I think my closest thing to that is just freaking sacrifices must be made. But I mean, hey.
And that one's not even that bad if you got it.
No, it's just like, oh gosh darn it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing is just like, that's just part of the
Feels
design.
good.
I think the biggest thing for me from a design standpoint when I've seen other players play this game like in the flesh is people get frustrated at when like a bunch of your progress gets taken back. Like, or like what you're saying, Pikmin, with like the double deception shenanigans. Like people don't like that stuff. And this game definitely is like, yeah, there is like removal and taking back progress, but like it's not to the same hindrance that Disney was, and that's a good thing. I think that makes a better playing experience. And honestly, I've played these games. Like these games have lasted a little longer, but they feel like they've played faster. If that's weird to say. I don't know if anyone feels that way too.
I think I can.
Yeah.
I mean,
I do think it's the It's the undoing progress that a lot of
Undoing progress will always feel bad.
I know, like it's again, I slam on Pete so much because I have never seen a character cause that much hatred within people. Imagine a situation where you're about to get like round up and strike it rich at the same time, and you're about
And
to
then
win,
bam.
and
Move.
then someone pulls Goofy, and then they fight you again next turn, and they pull Mickey Mouse, and like you want to kill them, you know?
I sorry, it's just something about the way you said Goofy. Just really made me crack because you were like, "Oh, Goofy."
But like, I'm not wrong. It's just so
No, definitely not. But like, yeah, no, the disdain Goofy brings.
and then Scar Hakuna Matata, you know,
Hakuna
all-
Matata is a nightmare.
I've been
Yeah.
so pissed off at that card for my entirety of playing Scar. Ugh. But no, yeah, this game. I mean, and the thing is like at its core, and I've seen people debate about this online about like how Marvel Villainous feels very different than Disney. It's like a completely different game. I don't 100% agree with that. I feel like it's
I don't think
truly
it's
the
completely
evolution
different.
of the engine.
Yeah, you feel
Where
better.
like Disney is like what Ditto was saying with the solo solitaire game. This game now makes it so like you are still technically being asymmetric and have your own goal to accomplish, but now you're able to interact with other players. You know, not only with the Fate deck, but also with your own cards, which I think is a huge step up in the engine and how it works. Because now there's other ways to halt your opponent's progress without having to fate. And now fating no longer feels like what Pikmin was saying, like you're gonna fate twice in a row, and since the fate decks are smaller, it's like you get these two powerful cards almost back to back that really set you back a whole bunch. You know, like fating doesn't feel as powerful, but it's still good. I just think this. I mean, if you played a lot of Disney, and you folks know I've played lots of Disney, I make the whole thing about like I've played hundreds of the matches of this game at this point, and I just this game is the Marvel is miles above Disney. It really is. I am very much looking forward to the future of Marvel Villainous, like a whole
Cannot
bunch.
wait.
It's gonna be awesome.
I think on the point of like number of games specifically, the server in general, like especially with the league and stuff, I think we're approaching 1,000 games if we
Oh,
have
yeah.
it.
For sure. There's no way we're absolutely.
Yeah, no, like I know personally, I probably played at least around 400, 500 games in total in my lifetime of playing this game. And just to, like from some perspective from our league stuff, we had, I think, I know we're over 100 just for within a week. Within a week of playing this game, we have 100 games played for the league, which is insane. Like, oh my god, insanity.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, and I can't wait to do that with Marvel too. Like, I'm close. I'm close to 30 games right now with Marvel, which is awesome. And like that's with the different variable like player counts and players and all that stuff. And I can't wait. I can't wait. I really can't. The future of this game is really bright, and I'm really glad Ravensburger. It seemed like they you know we kind of talked smack about the card wordings and stuff like that, but like the fact they're able to answer
It
this
still works, yeah.
Yeah, like they know how things are supposed to work, and they know what they needed to do to improve the engine from the get-go. And it was really kind of weird too so when we were listening to the panel today, I didn't actually put this together, but the lead designer for all of the Villainous line in general is the same person who put together or was the lead like head person of all of HeroClix and for a long time. And that guy was actually part of a transition phase when HeroClix had to evolve and change on how it worked. And I have to give him a lot of credit because he probably noticed that with Disney going to Marvel as well, of just like trying to evolve the engine of the game. So that way it's like, when they say the next chapter, this is the next chapter of the game. And who the heck knows what the next chapter after Marvel is going to be?
No,
I know.
It's more Marvel.
Man,
who knows?
I just want to say, like, because the two of you are like such Marvel fans, it's probably ran away in like the Marvel direction, but there's an awful lot of people, me included, who are still excited for the next Disney expansion and maybe even a second new Disney expansion after that. You know, if they give us like 2 more boxes, which based on talks and stuff, you know, might be unlikely, but there's still a lot of people who will be really excited for that.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to shut that down completely.
It'll be super cool to see what happens. It'll be really cool. I can't wait to see what happens. It's just I'm waiting on other.
I will say, I
things.
think, based off of kind of what we're predicting, I think if they take the philosophy of the design of Marvel in terms of just giving you tons of ways to use your cards, if they take that philosophy with whatever the rest of the Disney characters that they're coming out with, which seems like that's the way they're going, I will still enjoy the Disney characters because, like, figuring out Mother Gothel and Cruella has been a lot of fun because they are exactly what I wanted from the game, from the strategy side of like, all right, here are some cards. There are multitudes of different ways you can use these cards to, you know, make it work. And like we're talking smack about Pete. Pete's almost the same way too, where his cards have such, different utility. Because that's maybe for the exception of Cruella, all three of those characters really don't have specific cards that they need to accomplish their goals. Like obviously they have cards that make them accomplish their goals, but they can be used in different unique ways. And that's not really necessarily as apparent with some of the other characters from the past. And if they take that design philosophy with the future of Disney, like you guys know, I want Oogie Boogie, and we know he's going to probably have dice. So if they give you a ton of different ways to interact with dice and use that towards advancing towards your goal, totally in. Really would like that.
I think like when you were talking about the using your cards for different things and not just it being straightforward and stuff. I think as much smack as I've given Pete throughout this throughout the show, I think Pete might be the strongest example of that because in particular, when I first read cards like Mischief and Sneaky Pete, I was just looking at these like I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing with these. Like I just don't know. I don't know like. This is so open-ended for what I can do with this. I don't know where to begin with strategizing around these cards. Like drawing from the bottom of your deck and stuff is just so like, it's just options,
Yeah, it's options. But that's the thing is like, you can use those cards in different ways towards Pete's goal. And like, you're absolutely right. I do agree that Pete's probably the best example because all of his cards really kind of work together towards everything that he's trying to do. And like, you don't really get that with any of the other characters in Disney. Like, yeah, you have those particular goals you have to accomplish, but like literally all those cards can be used in different ways towards all those goals. And that's incredible. That's the type of design I want with the future of the Disney characters. And obviously we're already getting that with Marvel. So like, I really want to see more of that from Disney specifically. Because I mean, like I said, I am still excited for the next. I mean, like I am not as excited, I will say that, but I am still excited for the next Disney expansion.
It'll be super cool to see what happens.
Yeah,
I am very, very excited to see what Disney pulls up with.
I will say, I because like I've said this before, I think the most fun thing about the next, because we know Gaston is coming, like we just flat out know he's there. Like I'm excited to see what they do with those characters, and that's what's exciting to me. I think with Marvel, there's a lot of bigger. I mean, like in Pikmin, I know you're not as big of a Marvel fan as Will and I, but like there is so much more now with Marvel that we're kind of we can hype.
There's a ton that they could do.
Yeah.
Like who knows what the heck they're gonna pull?
Right. Like literally today, or like in previous conversations, we have talked about how we don't know if Venom will probably be able to make it. And now it's like, oh my God. Like they basically said that Venom might be a thing.
It could be.
Yeah, exactly. That's super cool.
It's hard to tell, what time period they're gonna go with. There's a lot of switching sides in Marvel, so it's not as dry as Disney. So it'll be super, super interesting to see what all they do. There's more to be excited about than just, who's in the box like Disney. So I'm still excited about Disney. There's just a whole lot more to think about with Marvel.
Yeah. I think like the Fate deck specifically, like knowing what heroes are going to be coming, I think is also just as interesting.
Yeah, how are they going to do the Fate deck with future expansions? They said they're going to have a common Fate deck, but it's not like they could just get rid of the current one. It'll be super interesting to see what all they do.
Right. I think there's a lot more things to look forward to with how they'll expand. And like once we know, like we'll give it like a groundwork of like how that's gonna look. But yeah, like still, like there's still be tons of things to be excited about, like what heroes, how those effects gonna work, how's their goal gonna work? Because that's something also I think interesting we have to think about is like with Disney, like each of those villains have kind of a clear cut plan of what they're trying to do. And that goes with their goal. While with Marvel, like the only obvious one really of all of them is specifically Thanos because he wants to collect the 6 Infinity Stones. Like,
yeah, like each of the villains has a lot more. Like they've had a lot of plans over the years. Like what in the world
yeah,
be doing?
exactly. Because like even with like because for those of you who don't know, if you look at the back of the rule book, there is a particular God of Mischief on the back, and it's like. Yeah, like how is that character going to be represented? Like, what?
Like how are they going to do Loki?
Right.
And
if I have no idea. Like I don't know.
Yeah, like what could he possibly do? Would he just be against Thor? Would he? Like he had a comic story where he took the Sorcerer Supreme title from Doctor Strange. Is that going to come into play? Like what in the world is happening?
Exactly. There's just a ton of possibilities, and I'm very much looking forward to what they're going to do. I am very excited, and like that's cool for everyone too. Like everyone that's not like in the same Marvel boat, because like I know Pikmin, you said you're still very excited about what the future of Marvel could be, and I think that's what's going to be cool is that there's just going to be so much. Like as soon as we get Spider-Man, I'm going to flip out.
Soon, me too. Yeah.
Oh my god,
Spider-Man's always been my favorite, and gosh darn, if he's gonna be delicious.
Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus, Venom, take it or leave it. I want those 3. Give me Dr. Doom.
I'm still down for Carnage.
Oh, I'm still down for Carnage too. Don't get me wrong. I think Carnage would be cool. You never know. Carnage could be an ally in Venom's deck.
Venom could be an ally in Carnage's deck, so
that's also true.
I still think Venom's gonna be a hero.
I mean, that's fine with me too. I don't care. Just represent my boy.
I mean, people said Loki was going to be a hero.
I thought so too. That it was pleasant surprise. It really is hard to tell with Marvel at this point. It could be anything.
That's what's exciting. That's what's the most exciting part is like with Disney, you can kind of like because obviously their stories are consolidated to a movie that's like an hour and a half.
You know who the villain is. You know who the hero is.
Exactly. Marvel's got years of reference.
Yeah. Like if Venom shows up as a hero, it's like, oh yeah, cool. If Venom shows up as a villain, it's like, oh cool, yeah. Like we have no idea.
Exactly.
It's gonna be super, super exciting.
It is interesting to me to sort of listen to this conversation and just like I kind of know who these people are, but like not really. For me, what's going to be most interesting is just the gameplay because I'm removed of that like desperately wanting a specific character. Like on the Disney side, still I'm not going to be able to rest in peace until we get King Candy in Disney. Like until that happens. I'm not resting in peace. Whereas with Marvel, I'm removed from that completely, so I just get to see the gameplay that they do. That's it, and it's honestly it's not a bad position to be in because I'm still excited and I'm still excited for the game, just in this weird circumstance.
That's kind of how I feel about Disney now that I got Scar and Jafar. It's got my favorite, so I'm like, okay, I'm interested to see what they do. I just don't care who they do it with, really.
I mean, I want Oogie. Don't get me wrong.
I also want Oogie.
Ravensburger, if you're listening to this show, just know we want Oogie.
Make Oogie Boogie.
In 2 weeks, I'll be upset.
He's really funny.
Making games is hard.
To be completely honest, King Candy is also like it's King Candy and Oogie Boogie that the server want at this point. Like they're the two the server's talking about. I think we would be talking about Gaston, but the Gaston talk is sort of we know.
It's been done.
Yeah, like we know he's coming. Put it that way. Like we know he's coming. So the hype for Gaston is not as like great because there's other characters that were like, what if they don't come? What if they do?
And I just want to go on record. I don't know anyone who says Lady Tremaine is their favorite Disney villain. I just want to put it out there.
I'm not saying it either. I only want her because I think it'd be interesting from a gameplay perspective.
If Lady Tremaine doesn't show up, I won't be sad that at all.
Yeah, I mean, same.
Yeah.
Who
Is
can
what it
guess
is.
some though? Yes.
Yeah, please
King Candy.
come.
And King Candy.
And King Candy, I can. Sure.
It's just because you two are in the same clique. I'm over here representing
That's
like
true.
half the server on my own.
Yeah,
You
that's
got it all
true.
on your shoulders right now.
Yo,
But,
Carnotaurus for Disney Villainous.
No, I you know, and I've said, and I want to make this public too, and I've said this, is like, you know, I am definitely much more excited for Marvel than I am Disney at this point, but I do want more characters for Disney because, like Pickman said, like those 1v1 games at Disney are just incredible. And even if you play the same game of the same two characters against each other over and over again, it does not get old. It really doesn't. So
No, I keep thinking we've learned a character, and then we find out we haven't, and someone comes in and just absolutely smashes it with this character. Or again, like you said, you know, it's different matchups happen like that. Like wonderful example of that. Like every time me and Brian have played Prince John versus Hook, he has tried a different approach against the Prince John every time, and it's resulted in such radically different matches, and it's been wonderful. Like that one where he didn't fight me at all.
right, exactly. Or we get the match that happened on the other day where it was Scar versus Hook, and I somehow won against Captain Hook, supposedly one of the best characters in this game. And literally, I got Hakuna Matata 4 or 5 times, and I made it through. And I don't know how.
Magic.
Like
some of that
perseverance.
retail magic.
I am personally not overly sold that Captain Hook is S tier, but that's besides the point.
Well, I can say I'm on the same boat as you there.
Yep.
Save that conversation for another podcast. Although I'm pretty sure everyone also agrees with you too, because I think I know what you two are thinking. Does it start? Is the person not have a PhD? And they work with a lot of friends, quote unquote.
This undisclaimed person who does not have a PhD.
No PhD.
He is without a doubt the best character in the game, and this league is just proving that to me so hard.
I know who you're talking about. I know who
Yeah.
you're talking about. All right. I know. I smell a rat. Hint, hint.
Mouse.
Yeah, but no. God. What a show. This has been incredible. All in all, though, I think we all can agree Marvel is really good.
Marvel's great.
It is a step up for sure. Whether it's a preference or not over Disney right now, it's still, I think and this is something I do want to get across, because something I learned with our community is that a lot of our folks within the community are very Disney centric, and that is completely okay. Like I am still a Disney fan, you know, like I still enjoy Disney movies and that all those different characters and stuff like that. But if you play Disney and you don't have necessarily a connection with Marvel, give it a shot. If you like the gameplay mechanics, you will love Marvel. Like, love it.
My biggest hope in all of this is that these games coexist. One does not have to beat the other one or replace the other one or anything like that.
No, I actually hope that with the design space of Marvel, it actually forces the Disney characters to be better developed and actually make those characters stronger than Marvel, if that makes sense. So that way we put it's like a competition of design within the same team to prove what's going to work better in the long run, if that makes sense. But that's not a bad thing. You know, because I know Fantasy Flight has done this with many of their games where they've basically had to either rework or like make new games and try to push them to other games that they produce to see which one kind of competes with the other, and the design teams have to kind of work against each other, which isn't a bad thing, but it's like, you know, I am with
competition is good.
2 more expansions of Disney. I do. Do I think it's likely? But I want to force that to happen, if that makes sense. And I think Marvel will be a good way to do that, personally. All right. Anything else we want to say?
Buy the game.
Yeah, it's a good game. If
Yeah.
to anyone who skipped to the end just to hear the short one, it's good.
Yeah,
Buy it. Yeah.
it's good. Buy a game. It's a good
Buy
game.
a game. Haha. To
Yeah, I know.
capitalism.
Yeah. No, this game's great. Let's give my seal of approval. You should buy this game. I personally think it's better than Disney Villainous.
I think
better
it's
than all
100
Disney
times better
Villainous.
than Disney Villainous.
Yeah. Buy the game. Bug snacks.
Bug snacks.
Yeah, bug snacks, guys.
Yeah. Buy that game too.
Yeah, buy that. Yeah, buy
For
that
fun.
game when it comes out. Bug snacks.
Yeah, why not?
Anyway, thank you both of you for joining on the show. Thank you, Will Smith, for returning, and thank you, Pikmin, for your debut.
It's been great.
I appreciate. I know it's late for you in Ireland, so I appreciate the fact you stayed up with us doing the show.
It's not the latest I've stayed.
Oh, no, well, yeah, I know that for sure. Well, I definitely have to have you back on at some point for something. So, Will Smith, thank you once again for joining us.
Yes, I love joining us.
Before we go, believe it or not, folks, we are approaching episode 30 of the Let's Get Wicked podcast, which is insane. Our next week's episode will be episode 30. We are going to be doing a live show. The live show is going to be on Saturday, August 8th. I'm going to double check my calendar right now before I get too insane. Yes, August 8th. We'll probably be starting around 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, maybe a little earlier. I would strongly suggest to join our Let's Get Wicked community on Discord, which you can find in the comments below the YouTube or your podcast service, as well as you keep up with me on Twitter, Joker_Jonesy. You can find me there. I'll be talking about stuff. So just in case the time changes or whatnot, we might do something different. But yeah, we're gonna be doing another live show with the podcast. With some folks on there. We'll probably have some guests on there, just kind of shoot the business and stuff. We're just gonna have a fun time. Well, the fact that we've ran for 30 episodes is insane. So thank you, all of you, because none of this would be possible without wonderful folks like you listening and the wonderful co-host I have on the show. It's all thanks to you folks for making this as awesome as possible. So really appreciate it. Long live the king. Spend 1 power. Reveal 4 hero cards. That's you folks. Difference is I'm not vanquishing you to win my goal. So yeah,
Horrible.
that was funny. Anyway, that's it, folks. Thank you so much for listening. Buy this freaking game. Until then, stay happy, stay healthy, and stay safe. And as always, stay delightfully wicked. We will see you folks on a 30th anniversary or at 30th anniversary.
30th anniversary.
Yeah,
Wow.
we've been doing this for 30
We
years.
jumped. Wow.
Dang.
Dang.
Oh, God, now that makes it worse.
Oh my god, I want this podcast to exist in 30 years.
Oh, please.
Oh God! But until
All right,
then, everybody.
see you guys in 2040 or what? 50.
I hope you all stay delightfully wicked. We'll see you folks on the next episode.